Starting today, my sister and her husband are moving in with us. Strangers should just go somewhere else. Suddenly, John and my sister-in-law's husband barged into our house and said that, "Why do I have to leave this house? Because we can no longer live together as a married couple." What? John claimed that I had been treating him like a maid all this time. In other words, I've been a victim of your emotional abuse. That's terrible, John, poofing. My sister-in-law exaggeratedly said, pretending to wipe away non-existent tears. But I can't stand it anymore. I'm divorcing you. I'll be getting the property division. First, this house. I endured that life for 2 years, so I have the right to it, don't I? That's right, that's right. Who's going to pay the $3,300 living expenses? The next day, when I moved into a luxury facility worth $2 million, I got a barrage of calls from my hysterical husband and his sister. My name is Anna Smith, and I just turned 40 a little while ago. I'm a day trader, an investor. I buy and sell currencies and stocks. Thanks to that, my job is going well, and I can say I have a decent amount of wealth. I have a congenital illness, which isn't particularly life-threatening, but the doctors advise me not to overdo it and not to have children if possible. Apparently, there's a significant risk associated with childbirth. My parents didn't hide this from me. They raised me to face my illness from a young age and to live my life with determination. My father, who worked at a brokerage firm, taught me about stocks, and thanks to him, I can now make a living from it. My husband's name is John. He's 30 years old. He's 10 years younger, and we've been married for 2 years. We met when John started working as a waiter at my favorite restaurant. I thought a cute guy had joined, but we were just staff and customer. That was it. But somehow, he got attached to me, and we went from friends to lovers, and before I knew it, we were thinking about marriage. I thought this couldn't go on. After all, I can't have children. John is still in his 20s. I couldn't marry him and make him give up the possibility of having his own children. So I refused his proposal once. But then John said to me, "I want to live my life with you, Anna." That's why I proposed. If I wanted kids, I would have chosen someone else from the start. Don't you trust me? I was so happy I cried, and I decided to accept his proposal. Right after we got married, John said, "I'll stay at home and take care of everything. I don't hate my job as a waiter, but wouldn't it be easier for you to work this way? You know I'm good at cooking." John is indeed good at cooking. He originally had an interest in food and got a job related to it. He wasn't in the kitchen, but he said he learned a lot by watching. That's how we first started talking. My brother works in the restaurant industry and told me he opened his own place, which piqued John's interest, and we had many conversations. At that time, John said he wanted to have his own place someday, so he asked me to share more stories, his eyes sparkling. Seeing those eyes, I thought it was nice, but when he said he'd be a stay-at-home husband, I asked what would happen to his dream, and he replied, "Do you think being a stay-at-home husband means I can't have my own place? That's disrespectful to people who do housework full-time. That's old-fashioned thinking. Besides, wouldn't it be lonely if we were apart? I want to spend as much time with you as possible." When he said that so sweetly, I, being weak, agreed to his proposal. At first, things went really well with me working and John handling all the housework. But gradually, John stopped doing the chores. The living room, which once had that newlywed vibe, started getting cluttered with comic books and video games, and John began spending all night playing games in front of the big TV. At first, it was just occasionally, so I thought it was okay once in a while. But it got worse and worse, and soon he was living a completely reversed day-night schedule. "John, isn't this getting a bit out of hand lately?" "Yeah, sorry, I'm really into this game right now. Can you let it slide until I finish it? Please," he pleaded, and I reluctantly agreed to let him finish that game. But before I knew it, he was hooked on a new game. The house was a mess. When we first got married, John used to clean meticulously, keeping the place comfortable. He was such a great stay-at-home husband. What happened? I put up with it for a few months, but one day I finally had to say something. "John, we need to talk." "Huh? What about?" I married an adult man, but now it felt like dealing with an elementary school kid. It felt like I was a mom scolding her child to do their homework before playing games. We're supposed to be a married couple, equals. You're the one who wanted to be a stay-at-home husband. So I need you to keep that promise. I'm not saying you can't have fun, just finish your responsibilities first. I laid it all out, and John fought for a moment before saying, "Got it, I'm sorry. I've been slacking. I'll play only after I finish my chores, I promise." True to his word, John went back to being the perfect stay-at-home husband, but there was a difference this time. He always seemed unhappy. In the beginning, he used to cook joyfully and proudly show off a clean house. Now he just rushed through his tasks and retreated to his room. He used to play games on the big living room TV and read comics on the sofa, but now he played online games in his own room. More and more, he started saying things like, "Sorry, I have a dungeon raid tonight. Can you eat by yourself? Just leave the dishes, I'll wash them later." I would watch him walk away to his room and eat dinner alone. No matter how good the food was, eating it alone like that made it taste less enjoyable. But since he was doing the housework as promised, I couldn't say anything. And it wasn't just dinner. "I have a guild battle tonight, not sure when I'll be back. Go to bed without me." He wouldn't come back to the bedroom. It was like this almost every night. During the day, he'd go out alone. When I asked where he was going, he'd just say shopping and then not return until evening. Yet, he always made sure to prepare my meals and leave them ready. It feels like sarcasm. He did all the chores, cleaning, laundry, cooking, so I couldn't complain. But this wasn't family life. It felt like having a live-in housekeeper. We barely spoke anymore. I just ate the prepared and cold meals alone, changed into the washed clothes, and sat in the cleaned house feeling lonely. In times like these, I thought being alone might be less lonely. Thinking this, I'd look at John's room door and cry from the sadness. Still, I kept hoping things would settle down. I believed we'd get back to normal eventually, so I silently endured. Then, after about a year of this lifestyle, John suddenly made an announcement. "Starting today, my sister and her husband are moving in with us. Strangers should just go somewhere else." Suddenly, John and my sister-in-law's husband barged into our house and said that. I couldn't understand it at all. I remembered hearing that when John got married and moved in here, his sister and her husband moved into an apartment. "What, John, you're moving out and going back to the old apartment?" In my confusion, I blurted that out, and the three of them looked at each other and burst out laughing. No, I'm staying here with my sister and her husband. You're the one who's moving out." I couldn't understand it at all. Why do I have to leave this house? Because we can no longer live together as a married couple. What? John claimed that I had been treating him like a maid all this time. In other words, I've been a victim of your emotional abuse. That's terrible, John, poor thing. My sister-in-law exaggeratedly said, pretending to wipe away non-existent tears. But I can't stand it anymore. I'm divorcing you. I'll be getting property division. First, this house. I endured that life for 2 years, so I have the right to it, don't I? That's right. John kept asserting something, and his sister kept cheering him on. Meanwhile, her husband just stood there smirking at them. I see, that's how it is. I started to understand what was going on. John must have planned this from the beginning. He sweet-talked me into marrying him and planned to divorce me at a convenient time after that. And just like he said earlier, he planned to get his hands on various things. I never planned on getting married, knowing I couldn't have children, and not being particularly attractive. My personality is just so-so. I didn't think any man would want to marry me. So I decided to live alone, focusing on my work and hobbies. I had some friends and a normal relationship with my parents and brother. My parents moved to my dad's hometown after he retired, living there with my brother and his wife. My brother worked in the restaurant industry for a few years, got married, and started a small restaurant with his wife. When choosing the location, he decided to live with our parents. The land is spacious, so they built a separate house on the property and lived together on the same premises. I was born and raised in this town close to the city, so it's not exactly visiting home when I go there, but I enjoyed spending time with my parents, brother, sister-in-law, and my 2 nephews. I never felt lonely, so getting married to a man 10 years younger was a surprise even to me. In hindsight, I guess I was played. Listening to John and his sister, I couldn't help but laugh at my own foolishness. I had a feeling this might happen. John approached me so suddenly and got so deeply involved, it felt like a made-up story. At first, I was cautious, but his puppy-like affection won me over. I started thinking quickly. How can I turn the tables? How can I give these people a taste of their own medicine? As a day trader, my job is to read situations, anticipate the future, and turn things in a positive direction. I've been winning my whole life, so I can handle this too. No, I'll definitely handle it. As I kept my head down, deep in thought, John and his sister kept hurling insults at me. Hey, why are you so quiet? Hurry up and pack your things, get ready to leave. For now, I'll act like I'm leaving the house. All right, I'll leave. I started packing only my personal belongings. All I needed was a change of clothes, my laptop for work, and a few other small items. Here, fill this out. John handed me a piece of paper. It was the divorce papers I'd heard about. The witness section had his sister and her husband's names already filled in. I'll file the divorce papers. I'll contact you if I need anything else. With mocking smiles, John and the others watched as I left my own condo with my belongings. I had a place to go. For now, I'll head there and think things over. I'm sure they'll have more to say soon enough, so I'll deal with it then. I drove out of the condo's parking lot and headed to my destination. Once I got there, I had a peaceful night's sleep and felt refreshed. I woke up later than usual and had brunch. The food here is always delicious. It was the first time I'd been here since getting married, so it had been over 2 years. First, I sent John a message on WhatsApp telling him my current location and that my lawyer would handle things from now on. The phone rang almost immediately. Faster than I expected. What the hell is this about? I could hear John's sister yelling in the background, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. Where the hell are you? So that's what he reacted to. I came here because I was kicked out. Is that a problem? That's not what I mean. John's voice was filled with frustration. That's a high-end resort, a members-only hotel. Why are you there? Because I'm a member here. You never told me that. Of course not, because I never mentioned it. As John said, this is a very exclusive hotel. But it's not just a hotel. It's a luxury resort with lifetime care services. In other words, a high-end retirement facility. There's even a hospital next door. You can stay here as a resort guest or buy a place and live here like a regular home. Getting in requires at least $2 million, and it was quite the topic in the media for a while. That's probably why John recognized the name and called me immediately after checking. Why are you a member of a place like that? Because I paid for the rights to be here. On the other end of the line, John made some incomprehensible noises. Someone mentioned I should go somewhere else, right? So I decided to live here. If you want to stay in the house, go ahead. Just make sure to pay the $3,300 monthly rent. What? But that's your house. What do you mean, rent? I decided to sell it. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I won't be living there anymore. I never planned on getting married and bought this place to avoid burdening anyone in my old age. I had already purchased the condo I lived in until yesterday, but I knew I had to secure this spot quickly, as such prime facilities don't come up for sale often. I took the plunge. I planned to move in here when I was older. This place is a bit far from the city, so it felt too early to retire here completely. While I could still work, I kept it as a vacation home. I visited occasionally to unwind but kept it a secret from everyone. The only people who know are my accountant and lawyer. Give me that place too. While I was deep in thought, John suddenly said that I should be able to get half of that. How convenient for him. Who in their right mind would agree to that? I was astonished. I have no intention of giving it to you. And from now on, please contact me through my lawyer. You have their contact info, right? Goodbye. I hung up the phone and turned it off. Now, I think I'll go to the spa and unwind. Not just from yesterday's stress, but from the past 2 years. To my surprise, John and his sister's family showed up at the hotel the next day. John argued at the front desk, insisting that he had the right to enter because he was family. I had already asked the staff not to let anyone in without my permission. This place was very professional. I thought about ignoring them completely, but I didn't want to cause trouble for the facility. So, I reluctantly agreed to meet them in the hotel lobby. It's a public place with the concierge nearby, so I could get help if needed. When I asked what they wanted, John smiled and said, "Anna, you're so mean. Why didn't you tell me about this place? Why did you keep it a secret? Yay, why did you hide this from us?" Even his sister chimed in, with the same smile. Seeing them like this, they really looked alike, both in appearance and their conniving nature. "We're not related anymore, so there's no reason to tell you. Now, please leave. You're causing a disturbance. We're still married." "No, we're not." I informed John that on my way here yesterday, I had stopped at the county office and filed for divorce. "So, we have no connection anymore." "Why did you do it without telling me?" As if he forgot, he was the one who brought the divorce papers, filled them out, and handed them to me. "Don't worry. Divorced couples can refile without waiting 6 months. You guys can just get remarried." "Yes, exactly." His sister shared this little fact she'd learned somewhere, and John looked pleased. "No, thanks," I said firmly, stood up, and walked back to my room, ignoring the three trying to follow me. The concierge stopped them. "I won't give up. I'll come here every day to show you how much I love you." "You're so cool, John." Listening to their pathetic act as I walked away, I felt utterly drained. I immediately contacted my lawyer to take action. It was urgent, given how quickly things were escalating. I never expected them to do this just a day after I left. They had a knack for useless endeavors. John and his sister's family started showing up at the facility daily, waiting for me in the lobby. My lawyer sent a restraining order, but then they pulled an outrageous move. Anna deceived me into marriage. I'm demanding compensation. John claimed he didn't know I couldn't have children, and if he had known, he wouldn't have married me. Therefore, he demanded compensation. If I refused, he threatened to report me for marriage fraud. I gave my lawyer a certain recording. I proposed to Anna because I wanted to live my life with her. If I wanted kids, I would have chosen someone else from the start. "Don't you trust me?" These were the words John used when he proposed to me, and I had them recorded. John was furious, asking why I had such a recording, but it's simply because of my cautious nature. You never know what might happen in this world. So I always have recorder running when I sense something might come up. It's just a habit. I trusted John and used to listen to this recording alone, reminding myself of how I felt back then. I never imagined it would come in handy like this. Now, John claimed that after getting married, I forced him to quit his job and do all the housework, accusing me of emotional abuse and demanding compensation. He threatened to report me to the police for coercion if I didn't pay. I submitted another piece of data. "I'll stay at home and take care of everything. I don't hate my job as a waiter, but wouldn't it be easier for you to work this way? You know I'm good at cooking." These were John's words declaring he wanted to be a stay-at-home husband, and I had it recorded. Next, John claimed that the emotional distress from being secretly recorded warranted compensation. He threatened to report me to the police for illegal recording if I didn't pay. Unfortunately for him, there's no specific crime of illegal recording. If the content of the recording is used to cause harm, or if illegal entry is made to plant recording devices, or if furniture is damaged in the process, there are penalties for those actions. However, the act of recording itself is not considered a crime. Failing in all his attempts, John then demanded compensation for the divorce itself. But it was John who initiated the divorce without any valid reason, shoving completed divorce papers at me. Of course, I had the conversation from that moment recorded as well. The lawyer explained that, given the circumstances, it was more likely that John owed me compensation. Finally, in tears, John begged for a division of assets. I agreed to consider his request. "To properly assess the assets and calculate the amount, I need you to leave the condo. Once the figures are determined, we'll meet at the lawyer's office." They left without a fuss, allowing me to sell all the condo's furnishings and list the condo for sale as I had declared. Due to rising property values, it sold for more than expected. When I presented the total figures, John and his family were ecstatic. Of course, the total assets amounted to tens of millions. So, I get half of this. Not quite. This was just the total value of the assets I had acquired myself. The lawyer handed John a document outlining his share, and he turned red with anger. Why is my share zero? The lawyer explained patiently. The majority of my assets were acquired before our marriage, so John had no claim to them. As for post-marriage income, John was entitled to half, but after deducting living expenses, necessary costs, and the compensation I claimed, his share was actually negative. Why do I have to pay compensation? The lawyer showed him the evidence. John had been cheating. His affair was with a girl he met through an online game. John told her about me, describing me as 10 years older with a chronic illness, saying he would inherit all my assets if anything happened to me, and that he was getting all the pocket money he wanted. The girl didn't take him seriously but played along for the pocket money John gave her. She testified, on the condition that I wouldn't seek compensation from her. And you also said something like this. I played a recording of the girl's testimony. This is what it said. John told that girl about my condition, explaining that having a child could be life-threatening for me. He said that when the time came, he would cry and beg me to have his child, believing I would risk my life to do so. She testified that he laughed about it. Be grateful you're not being handed over to the police. Thanks to you, I've had some amusing dreams and enjoyed good food. So let's call it even, and I won't ask for more. John hung his head and accepted everything. Thus, my short marriage ended in a mess. I don't know what happened to John and his sister's family afterward, nor do I care to know. As long as they never show up in front of me again, that's all that matters. Pushing it further would only make me feel more miserable. Honestly, the emotional damage was significant, but fortunately, I have plenty of money and time to heal. I embarked on a world cruise on a luxury liner. On board, I met various people from around the world, visited numerous places, and had a wonderful time. There were even a few people who made my heart flutter, but remembering John, I held myself back. I didn't want to get hurt the same way again. Because that's what I fought. With that resolve, I returned home and started a new life. For a while, I lived leisurely at the resort hotel, but soon got bored. I'm still only 40 years old. Thinking about it, I'm still young. Living with a much younger John made me overly conscious of my age. During my year-long cruise, I met a woman over 80 years old who was still active and looking for new love. At half her age, why should I give up on everything? Despite the unfortunate end, loving someone was fun. Why should I let someone like John ruin the joy and possibility of loving someone again? That's how I started to feel. As I was thinking this, my phone flashed with a new message. It was from a man I met on the cruise. He said he would be visiting the US soon and asked if we could have dinner. He had been on the ship with his high school daughter. We got along well and often spent time together at the ports. I remembered thinking that having a daughter might feel like this. I remembered enjoying my time with that thought in mind. I replied, saying I'd love to meet, feeling a slight thrill in my heart. From the halfway point in life, I felt like I was taking a new step forward.